Hi everyone, meteorologist Gary Woodall here, and welcome to this episode of the Mid-South Weather Musings. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the 2020 hurricane season, what the experts are predicting for the season, and some of the factors that are going to go into how the 2020 hurricane season plays out. Stay tuned, the episode's coming right up. Well, we are already off to a pretty fast start for the hurricane season. We've already had two named storms in the Atlantic Ocean, and of course, hurricane season doesn't officially begin until June the 1st. The experts, tropical meteorology experts, have weighed in with their forecasts, their outlooks for the 2020 season. So we'll take a look at those and talk about some of the factors in the atmosphere that may affect how busy or not busy the hurricane season might be. So let's go ahead and get on into it and talk about the 2020 hurricane season outlook. The team at Colorado State University is forecasting above average activity for the 2020 season. Here in the middle column, we see the normals, about 12 named storms, about 6 becoming hurricanes, about 3 major hurricanes, about 24 days in which we have a hurricane in progress. This accumulated cyclone energy, this bottom category, sort of a cumulative total of tropical cyclone activity during the year. And you can see that for 2020, the Colorado State team is pretty much forecasting above normal across the board. They also are forecasting above normal chances for a landfall, which makes sense given the increased activity that they're forecasting. This particular forecast was released on April the 2nd, and they will put out an update on June 2nd, updating their outlook predictions. Now, the NOAA Climate Prediction Center recently issued their outlook. It came out on May the 21st. And rather than specific values, the NOAA forecast looks more at ranges. But again, forecasting above normal as far as the number of named storms, basically above normal as far as the number of hurricanes and major hurricanes are concerned. And also this accumulated cyclone energy, again, forecast to be well above normal. They, again, just released this outlook on May the 21st, and we'll do an update in August, just before the historical peak of the hurricane season. So here are the names that we'll see for the tropical cyclones in the Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico. We've already had the A storm Arthur and the B storm Bertha, and then again we see the rest of the names here. So if the season plays out as the outlooks are suggesting, probably somewhere in the Paulette to Renee to Sally range where we will make it for this year. So why the busy outlook? Why the above normal outlooks? Well, one of the big factors is we don't have an El Nino that's forecast to affect the area this summer. El Ninos tend to disrupt hurricane and tropical cyclone activity in the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf of Mexico. With no El Nino, we will have less upper-level wind blowing across this area, which would disrupt the environment for developing storms. We usually see weaker Atlantic trade winds, so not pushing those developing storms along as quickly. And usually if we don't have an El Nino, we'll have a little more instability in the atmosphere, a little more fuel for the developing systems to be able to work with. Now, the graphic that we show here talks about the influences of a La Nina. We're not necessarily going to have a La Nina this summer, but the lack of an El Nino will remove those negative factors that might suppress tropical cyclone formation. We also are forecast to see above normal sea surface temperatures all across the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico this season. This is the map for the averages for August, September, and October, and basically the peak of the hurricane season. And the yellows and oranges indicate areas where above normal temperatures are forecast, and pretty much all across the area. So more energy for the developing storms as they're coming across the ocean. We also are expecting to see an active West African monsoon, and that's going to mean more disturbances, more tropical waves coming off the African coast and out into the Atlantic Ocean. And the more of these waves, these disturbances we have, the more potential for those to develop into tropical cyclones. And with the other favorable conditions, this should provide a number of opportunities for tropical cyclone development, especially as we get into the peak of the season. The so-called Cape Verde hurricanes often form with these disturbances that come off the African coast, gain strength as they come all the way across the ocean. One thing we need to remember, though, is that no matter how busy or not busy the hurricane season will be, it only takes one hurricane to make it a bad hurricane season for us. 1992 was a great example of that. We only had 6 named storms during the year, only 4 hurricanes, only 1 major hurricane. So from the statistical standpoint, it was a very below average hurricane season. However, that one major hurricane made landfall twice actually in the U.S., and it was named Andrew. And Andrew was a devastating storm for South Florida and for the middle Gulf Coast as well. Total of 65 fatalities from Andrew and a total of $27 billion worth of damage. So again, it only takes one bad hurricane in the wrong spot to make it a bad hurricane season for us. But as we're coming into hurricane season, this is a good time to keep up to date on what's happening in the tropics. And a great source for that is the National Hurricane Center's website, www.nhc.noaa.gov. They will every day post a tropical outlook where they are expecting perhaps storms to form, areas that they're monitoring. And this will be not only a text but a graphical version on their website as well. They'll have links to any advisories or hurricane or tropical storm watches or warnings that are in effect. Also links to some of the raw data, the satellite imagery, the aircraft reconnaissance data when the aircraft, the hurricane hunters are flying out through a storm. Also some really good preparedness and safety information as well. Now here in the Mid-South, we of course won't usually get the direct effects from a hurricane, but if you're planning any travel vacations as the restrictions lift and ease up a little bit, if you're planning any travel later in the summer down towards the coast, this will be some good information to keep handy and keep in mind. So that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Mid-South Weather Musings. So we hope you enjoyed the episode and appreciate the information. If you like this type of information, like what you're seeing, then be sure to subscribe to us if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, be sure and like and follow our page there. That way you'll be notified of future episodes when they come out. And if you have any specific topics that you would like to see us cover, let us know as well in the comments section. That way we'll try to work those into a future episode of the Musings. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Everybody keep safe.